Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for From Housekeeping to the C-Suite, Elevating Women and Wellness in Senior Living. My name is Narelle Doan, and I'm the Director of Marketing for Viking Pure Solutions. And we are so proud to host today's conversation, which is about recognizing women who power our communities at every level, those on the front lines and those in leadership. They are all shaping safer, healthier, and more innovative environments for residents and staff alike. Too often, these women are driving real change in care and operations, and they go unseen. And this panel is an opportunity to elevate their voices, experience, and impact. In that spirit, we are also proud to launch the Women Reimagining Senior Living Awards powered by Viking Pure Solutions. This is an initiative designed to spotlight and celebrate the changemakers redefining what leadership and wellness look like in our industry. So I'll share the nomination link later toward the end of the conversation and stay tuned for that. But let's get into the discussion. We are excited for an honest, inspiring discussion about how we can better support, recognize, and elevate the women who are shaping the future of senior living. So I'd love to introduce our panelists. Erin, let's start with you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Erin Hennessey, and I am the CEO of Health Dimensions Group. We're based here in Minneapolis, and we are a management organization with just over 50 communities in our portfolio, and also have a consulting practice that works in all 50 states. We have about 1,000 clients that we're helping every day be better, whether it come financial, clinical, operational, and super excited to be here with my friend Sevy.
Yay,
Awesome.
Erin. I feel like we kind of just started the discussion
We
really like leaning into the
we
things
leaned
that we could
into
Yes,
do to
balancing
help
working
support
mom
us women.
lifestyle.
It's like not
exactly.
easy. I'm Sevy Petras, CEO and co-founder of Priority Life Care, as well as host of the Her Stories podcast. We are an owner, operator, and third-party manager. We have around 65-ish communities right about now in 13 different states. We've been operating since 2010. We're a family-owned business, similar Erin, same, started with her family. And really, very, very excited to be here to have this discussion. I've known Dan a long time, and Erin and I have known each other a long time, and had a lot of these discussions over a cocktail or coffee, and thought that it would be a great panel to bring to light in another way that we could try to help shine some um, focus on some of the people that are working in our communities every day, and particularly the women that are there supporting our buildings and our leadership. So thanks so much for having us here today.
Awesome. We are so happy to have you. Dan?
Totally our pleasure. Yeah, Dan Lawson here, co-founder of Viking Pure. Honored to share this panel, and it's an honor to have this conversation. I think it's one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. I know that many on our team they share that as well. We started the company 10 years ago with the mission to remove toxic chemicals from senior living communities. We're very passionate about that, and one thing that we knew when we started the company was, in addition to the value proposition really kind of gravitating towards the resident, which is super obvious, we're equally as passionate about, bringing awareness to these dangers for the benefit of those who are using our products every day or using chemicals every day, which we know is disproportionately women in the space, and they certainly deserve, more recognition for the effort that they put forth every day, because they don't have an easy job. They're on the front line, and what we've learned is that they're truly the backbone of these operations, and it's just such an honor to serve them. Many may not know this or maybe have recognized it in the past, but our logo at Viking Pure features a female Viking. That's intentional. It's really intended to symbolize strength, resilience, and the nurturing qualities that are associated with care. And we just want to make sure that that's obvious, because of the need to create safe and just an effective solution for these environments is just so critically important. So thanks for everybody for joining us today, and yeah, looking forward to
So
this.
Dan, I feel like missed opportunity. Erin and I should both be wearing Viking hats,
I mean,
like the helmets with the horns. And I
we
mean,
can
clearly we
do
could do the
You
we
ponytails.
can run this back. I mean,
I have a new
I'm
hat. As long as we're live and we've
Okay,
already
let's
found out
pause
everything
and
earlier.
Oh, I love it.
Oh
There we
my
go.
Yes,
God. I
Let's
yes.
need this
go.
hat. Assisted winning. You know, winning is my word for
I
this
know.
year.
Well, I have a hat for you that I haven't shipped you that I bought you the other day, so I'll throw one of these in
Oh
your.
my God, I need one because
I'll send you
winning
two
is my
hats.
word for the year.
Winning.
Winning. Assisted winning. Oh my gosh, I love that. That
I'll
is
put
like
that
you're
in the
just
cup. I have the other one that I need to mail
dude,
you.
I love that one.
All
I'm
right.
so excited. I'm just gonna like interchange between the two, and then now I need a, I do have a Viking hat somewhere from visiting Epcot with my
Oh,
kid.
There we
But I
go.
wish I would have known this ahead of time, Dan. I would be wearing it right. Next time Aaron and I are gonna wear
100%.
those.
I'm gonna see you
awesome.
soon, and there may or may not be a Viking hat in, with me. We have an amazing team member at Viking Pure, Sue. Quick shout out to Sue,
Oh, love Sue.
how do you call it? She knits
Knit
these,
or
she
crochet.
creates them,
It's
Oh
either
knit
my
knit or
gosh.
crochet.
crochets these like
Mhm.
awesome hats.
With
So
do I don't need the ponytails, but she could give me ponytails
we'll
too
hook
if
it
she wants.
up. Nah, we got you.
I am so
That is
excited.
so
I
fun.
feel
I
like
never knew that
I
yoga
didn't
was a
either.
woman. I did not notice that it was a woman, but I love that because in this space you work in, it is a lot of women with your product. And I love
Mhm.
that. And people associate Vikings with males in that strength. But
Mhm.
I love that. I never noticed. So I'm glad you shared that.
Oh, thank you.
But
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
an
the majority
important
of our
small detail.
housekeepers
Yeah,
are
Women.
women.
that's
Mhm.
right.
Well, ours runs under the maintenance department. So like our maintenance department and leader is really who our housekeepers
Yeah.
all report
Same.
under.
Yeah.
And so maintenance are the ones who are really, making sure that our Viking Pure solutions are up and running, if there's a problem. But the housekeepers are the one who are putting it to use. And
Yeah.
I find, and I don't know, Erin, if you find the same, but I find that anytime I visit a community where the building has been around forever and ever, the longest standing employees are the housekeepers.
Longest standing. And the other thing I've always found is the most knowledgeable of our residents. And I was
Mhm.
Uh,
just talking to someone on our team. I can't remember what brought up this conversation is when you go in someone's room and you're there to provide, assistance with ADLs, or you're there to help someone with a call light or med pass, you're kind of there with a task. You're going to get it done. You're going to leave. It's not always the most enjoyable part of the day. When someone comes in to clean your apartment, they can talk while they're doing their job. They're
Mhm.
not on some strict, I mean, they're on a timeline, but it's not like I need to go past these meds. And so the conversations that happen between our housekeeping team and our residents are just awesome. And we
Mhm.
were talking about how do we make sure that their observations of our residents and feedback gets to the team, because
mm,
they're going to notice someone maybe being tearful
Mhm.
or lonely or not feeling great or not eating. They see everything that's happening in our residents' home because they go in with a different experience,
Mhm.
right? Like when you go in to clean someone's home and tidy up and make their bed, it's sometimes a little more personal than going in for med pass.
Mhm.
And so I think not only do we need to honor this work, it's use their knowledge and ask them and let them know that we value what they see. And I just saw someone pop up that referrals for people declining, and
mm,
they're going to know
yeah,
before a lot of us.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
for
absolutely. And
sure.
general illness too, we see.
Oh yeah.
If somebody's not
Oh,
feeling well,
Mhm.
absolutely.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
huge. I appreciate your comment on that. We're proud of that too, and it's important from our perspective to make sure that we maintain them on the pedestal that they deserve. And we just have some exciting ideas, in regard to how to continue to acknowledge that and praise their leadership, even though it may not be as like a part of their title, if you will, with the organization. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let's get into some conversation here. I mean, I know we've already started it and I love it. But yeah, so Sevy, women are the majority in senior living communities, and yet they are still underrepresented, excuse me, underrepresented in leadership roles. In your view, what is holding this progress back?
I think that the majority of the reason, and we're seeing the tide start to turn, I think is because previously, while our industry has been around for now we're going on, like 30 years, we're still relatively new.
Mhm.
And I don't think that they had a lot of Erins of the world to look up to and see that they could do it. I think the other piece of it is primarily assisted living wasn't started as a care-driven industry. It was started as a real estate-driven industry. And in the past, I think that's primarily been wielded by men because it was owner operator. And I think only until now have we really seen over the last 10 years where the shift has really been to much more care driven versus hospitality or real estate. So much more multifamily prior to. And
Mhm.
COVID has really, really exemplified the need that this is a need based industry,
Mhm.
care first, hospitality important, but it is really, really care driven. And so I think, as Erin pointed out earlier, so many of the people who currently work in our communities are the majority women because it has become so much more care based.
Mhm.
You're also seeing so many more women in the leadership roles, in the administrator, licensed roles these days as well. Whereas I think in the past, from a nursing home perspective, when you think about it that way, it was much more, it was not long term for the most part. There was a lot of men who were kind of leading, I think, that piece, but the nurses and the care staff were still women. But assisted living has really come into its own. And so now there's, I think, a whole new regime. I mean, your dad's company that, with Brandywine, Brenda Bacon was one of the first female
Yeah.
owners and operators who really kind of paved the way from that perspective. And so now you're seeing so many more CEOs and COOs and CIOs at the female level, and not just on the operations side of things, but also on the capital side. So I think
Mhm.
we're seeing so much more of that, and I think we'll continue to see more of that. But we have to do more to let the women know that they can do it too. And I think that's a big push that comes from within our organizations, but also, within the industry.
For sure.
In the
Yeah.
past, I
Mhm.
think that has been, and I, Sevy, exactly what you said, and it is getting better. Like we're seeing more and more women. You go to conferences and you see more women in leadership, and I think seeing them is an inspiration. Like people look up to Sevy and other women and know that it's possible. I think our responsibility is to help show people the path because sometimes where you are and where you're going, you know your goal, but you need someone else to guide you and teach you because none of us were born knowing senior living and care. Like we all arrive not knowing. And who is training you, who's mentoring you, and who is making that path for you. And that could be education, it could be job opportunities, mentoring, encouragement. And I think there always are pretty good pathways traditionally in the, like you said, with the nursing piece, when it used to be, I say I have a skilled nursing background too, is like nursing assistant, LPN, RN, BSN, nurse manager, director of nursing. It was kind of just this path that a lot of people took. But, I'm not a nurse. What are other paths to become an executive director? What are other paths to become a regional director? And even if you're not going to work in nursing, what other area are you going to specialize in that's equally as important to make sure that our residents have a great quality experience? And that's something I've really worked with our team on is, are there people who are in positions at our communities who have an interest
Hmm.
in being a executive director? And there are, and I just don't know if they always know where to start because it's different by state. Like some are
Sure.
licensed, some aren't. But making sure that we have that, and we've actually just started years. It's been years. So years ago, we started this program for our AIT administrator and training program. Now it's evolved to the EDIT as the names have evolved. But it is not for people who are already licensed and come to us. That's what a lot of EDIT programs are, is you get someone licensed and you put them in for a year. This could be someone who came from an entirely different profession. It could be someone who came and was running social services or culinary. And we teach them in it. You don't have to have there's no prerequisites other than a desire to be an executive director and take care of people. We'll figure out the rest. So that's kind of how we've been helping people on that
I
path.
love
And
that.
there's not enough people entering always our leadership especially women. And if you can get someone who has great values, is smart, and a great work ethic, we can figure out the rest.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Erin, kind of as a piece of that, because I think the mentorship aspect that you brought up is so important, and that's probably one of the major gaps for women kind of growing in leadership within senior living is because there's kind of, to Sevy's point earlier, there haven't been those mentors. Like women have not been in these roles, so they cannot serve as mentors, or there's a limited amount of them. But what or why do you believe that leaders who have served on the front line or in mid-level roles are better equipped to lead more effectively?
Oh, we were just having this conversation. I meet with all of our new EDs and corporate employees, and our meeting was yesterday. And we were just talking about like career paths and doing introductions and where you've worked. And I was sharing with them that, I was at 14, back then called a dietary aide in assisted living. And then since then, I've had a million different jobs. So I worked in activities and life enrichment. I was a sales and marketing director. I was ED culinary, just all the different jobs that I had. So what I was saying to this team is I said, you all have great managers and leaders, but if you ever need anything, I might know where it is. I've been hanging around here for a super long time. But I think when you know how a community really functions, you're a better leader because we can all sit here. I'm in our corporate offices in Minneapolis and think of ideas and great things. They look totally different once you put them into people's homes. Like
Yes.
there are humans taking care of humans, and the best process, the best system can get interrupted. And so I think to be a leader that has that understanding of what goes on in a community, sometimes I think we get trust faster because they know, like I always say, if an ED doesn't hop on a webinar, I always ask why, because it could be something crazy. It's probably not that they just didn't want to join your meeting. There could be a fire. There could be someone, there on an urgent tour that they needed to grab. And so I think having that understanding makes you trustworthy and real. And that's why I love when people move up through the ranks, because people support them. They see themselves in them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of comment on that from like an industry perspective, one thing I've noticed over the last several years in presenting the value proposition of Viking Pure is that it just naturally resonates much more with women, especially women in leadership. Not because maybe they were a housekeeper at one point, but because they have a true understanding and I think appreciation for the need for something that's safe, that's for something that's effective. One of the most frustrating things, like from my perspective, is you get through like the process of trying to promote the company, and it feels like it's falling on deaf ears because I don't know, maybe it's not as cheap, right, as like a chemical supplier that they can go out and just kind of get something that and check the box. And what I often learn is that those people have never handled chemicals. Maybe they don't clean in their homes, right? Not to suggest that all women necessarily clean in their homes, but I still think that there's an appreciation for keeping a clean environment, picking up after kids, like whatever, right?
Dan, I will say my guess is that either women who are working moms either are cleaning or coordinating the cleaning service.
Yep.
100%.
I would venture to say they are still leading the cleaning department.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if not personally doing
Head
it.
of home
100%.
housekeeping, whether or not they're
Yeah, I don't want to make any broad strokes, but I do think that there's just a much more of an appreciation, as opposed to maybe meeting with gentlemen that haven't touched a cleaning product in forever and really don't care, right, about what they're using at the front line, as long as it's like a low cost provider, which we're not necessarily, and not trying to be, because we think that there's value proposition that falls way outside of what maybe the monthly spend is on something. So yeah, I think it's important to note that as we continue to elevate and help women achieve, more like leadership opportunities in the space, the opportunity for the industry to just continue to improve and well-round, their care model there's no glass ceiling there. It's really just an infinite opportunity to keep the resident and your fellow team at the focus, for the benefit of, the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sevy, at Priority, you've seen firsthand how women can grow from frontline roles into leadership roles. And what have you observed about the environments, relationships, or support systems that can make that kind of upward mobility possible?
It's interesting. So we had recently promoted two individual women at different kind of times into our VP of operation roles. And Dan knows Jenny Phillips and Amanda Sayak, and today's Amanda's birthday, by the
Oh, happy
way.
birthday, Amanda.
Um, but what I found so fascinating about, and I've known Amanda for a long, long time. Like she was one of our first hires at our original Fort Wayne, Indiana building. And I've watched her kind of evolve over this time in particular. The thing that I think has been the most rewarding to see between Jenny and Amanda. So while they're like VPs over like one region and the other region, like which makes up the whole company, they have been just amazing communicators together. They collaborate. How is this working with you? Is that working? They had some issues and they went directly to Bobby and said, "Hey, Bobby, this is the way we want to present this. Hey, this is what we're thinking." They work so well in tandem together, and they're not afraid to share or collaborate. Like it doesn't seem that it's like competitive between the two of them. That in any way are they like they want both of them are helping to succeed.
Mhm.
And and not that we had the two positions before, but I can only speak internally from my own experience. But I've seen other dynamics not work the same way. But Amanda and Jenny have just been such great examples as for leaders within our organization of how while they're not technically working together, because they have separate or like areas. And Jenny's background is operations and marketing, and Amanda is a licensed nurse, and she comes from a background. She's a background of also marketing, but a nurse, first and foremost. And so to see them collaborate and work together and share has been really, really inspiring, I think, to our organization and hopefully to the rest of the leaders at our communities who, even though, like I said, like one of them may not be reporting to that one, but they have the ability to kind of like lean in and get the best of both worlds from that perspective. So I'm really proud to see that within our own organization. And we try the same, like we have something called a Pathways to Promotion, and it's really to try to help each one of our employees, regardless of what level they're on, to understand what are your ultimate goals and how can we help you get there. And if we don't show you how to get there, if you're starting, it's really, really hard to understand. Like if I'm just getting out of high school and then get my certification to be a caregiver, it's very hard to potentially see that I could one day be an administrator
Mhm.
or an RDO or the vice president of the company. So I think having women in those roles who can come in, it's a lot of what I do on my podcast, right? Is I try to tell all these different stories so that somebody could say, "Oh my gosh, well if they did it, then I could do
Right.
it." And not think that that we just walked into these positions and kind of got it. We've all had to fight our way up to where we are. But so often I think when you're in a role of leadership and you're a new person coming in, whether you have experience in the industry or you have no experience, first time in the industry, everything always appears to be the like duck beautifully gliding across the water, but nobody
Yeah.
sees all the feet
The
underneath
churning,
the
yeah.
murky water churning it up and working so hard to get it right. And I think that one of the things that we as other women leaders need to do is normalize the chaos. And I think the example of us getting on the phone, like immediately getting on and being like, "Oh my gosh, your hair looks great." Like, like, "Oh, I'm getting it done tomorrow, but this is what I got." I think women have to juggle so many things on top of, especially if you want a career, and the way that your career looks changes as your family life dynamic changes, like whether it's with
Yes.
children or adult parents, like your parents needing help. or your own personal things going on. And I think
Or all three
or all three at the same
all
time.
at once. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think like men don't always, not that you don't have those stresses and responsibilities, but women take them on in a different way. And it's not like we don't ask men the same questions. Like if you have to leave to go do something, nobody's like, oh, they gotta go get their kid. Oh, here we go. And I feel like women, it's like we feel like we need to apologize for those things, especially when you're in this leadership role. It's like we're not allowed to do those things. Like it makes us look less like a man in those roles. And I think our generation in particular, I think our group of females and males in senior living have really been trying to have these candid conversations about how bring it up. Like tell us your
Say it.
stresses. Say it.
Say
Like
it.
you said, like if somebody's not on one of your calls, I'm just assuming it's not because they wanted to blow it off to go, eat Twinkies down the hall.
Yeah.
They're doing it because something came up. So but we have to have these very candid conversations, and it isn't just women having them with women. Men have to have them too, because when men acknowledge those things that women are going through, it makes it so much more secure in our ability to feel okay to bring it up. Because it's like you feel okay to bring up to a woman because you're like, oh, you understand. But the men have to be doing the same things. Like we're all in this together to lift women up and bring more women up into leadership roles. And we have to do it at all the levels, because if we're not doing it, then it's not normalizing it. Then we're just keeping it as a woman's issue, and those are men's issues. And Dave Closer, who is our COO, I think does a great job of checking in with women on those things and getting it and having that empathy and understanding it. He may not like put it on a big like blackboard that that's the case, but he's having those individual conversations to create that space for the women within our organization. And he's been a huge proponent of both Jenny and Amanda being in those roles and helping to support them quietly. And that's the thing. I think we don't have to be like take the billboard out to show it. It's about like how you're making women in your organization feel just by asking them those questions, by doing those check-ins, by being like, hey, I'm not trying to get on you that you weren't on. I want to understand why you weren't on. Like, so what can I
Sure.
do to help you? Like, are you overwhelmed by
Yeah.
something? Or, was it an emergency that's going on? Right?
It's the open, it's the open and honest. And something I do as a leader that I'm really conscious of is say where I am if I'm gone, if it has,
Mhm.
especially if it has to do with my family, so that people know that if I'm taking time off to be at conferences or next I missed an event because I need to be with my daughter at one of her ski races. And I just say that.
Mhm.
And I think it gives people comfort that when their kid or spouse has something, that's okay to take that time. And we want people to be great family members and great parents. So I think it's like you said, like showing the kicking under the water sometimes is, hey, I'm balancing this. I was actually with you, Sevy. I don't know if you remember this when I got a call and you heard me say it was from my daughter, and I was like, where's dad? She's like, upstairs.
Yep. Yep. I do. I do remember
And
that.
I'm like in another state. I was telling you, there's just certain things that kids call mom, and schools. We've talked about
Call
this
mom
too. Like
first. Yeah.
moms are always on first, even if like you put on there like call dad first, because my husband's the primary
Mine
caretaker.
too.
It's like
Yep.
yeah. And it's like no matter what, they like always call mom. And so I think just speaking so openly about that is really important, because it then gives but people are going to model our behavior as leaders.
Yep.
And if we don't want people to feel like, oh, I gotta go get my kid, they're sick again. You're like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go get my kid, they're sick.
Mhm.
I mean, that is not a thing that you need to hide. That happens,
Yep.
and we all get sick. And I think that honesty, another thing that I think is important to be honest about, is when things on your leadership path have been difficult, to speak openly
Mhm.
about that. So I started working with my dad, now it's been like 20 years, and had a lot of different jobs at HDG and in our communities and here at corporate. And he wanted me to have experience in all the different divisions and things. And I'm really open. The hardest transition I ever made wasn't to CEO, it's from being an ED to a regional.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And when people take that promotion, I always call them and I say, I want to talk to you about what was hard for me, is the hardest transition I ever made, because I could always see everything in my community, but then you elevate and now it's more trust and you can't verify it right away. And so I think just being open, and I've had people be surprised when I've said that transition was so, so hard for me. And that's honest. Not every job on this career ladder is going to be great and easy.
And travel's hard.
And travel,
Travel's
that's
hard.
really
It is
So
not, it
hard.
is not as glamorous
It's
as
not.
it sounds,
it
right?
is
Like everyone's like,
not
oh, you're so
glamorous.
lucky you're out. And I'm like, I'm
There's
not.
a big difference between travel for work and travel for fun.
Well, there's also a big difference between traveling with your children and not traveling with your
Yes.
children. You know, like there's a trip if you're traveling with your kids, and that's a vacation if you're
There
going
you go.
somewhere
The
without them.
trip,
That's not work.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing, like we're dealing with, you know, and it's not to like play the world's smallest violin for me by any means, but you got to pack when then you got to get up really early and then you're gone, you know, and then you like have this whole day job on top of the things you're traveling to go do, and then you're missing the things like even though your kids may be at school and you're in the office, it is different when you're gone, you know, and then your flight gets delayed and then you're stuck somewhere for another day. Like it isn't glamorous
And
for
Hmm.
women
any
are
of
always
us.
balancing like where other, that's one thing I always think is fascinating is how women are always balancing where other people are.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like within their family, they're kind of like the coordinator. And what we're seeing now is also for parents. Like a lot of people kind of balancing parents and kids. And there is only enough time in the day. So I think it's like being open and honest about what those challenges are. Then I also think about what kind of benefits and culture can we create that makes life a little bit easier
Mm,
for folks.
hmm hmm
Is it really flexible PTO? Is it flexibility on scheduling? Is
hmm
it same day pay? Is it really an expanded employee assistance program that includes help with things you need for your parents or financial planning? Or, I think we've had to get more creative knowing that the women in the workforce are managing a lot. And we don't really walk into work and leave it all behind. Like you imagine like you show up at work and also I'm here to work, I'm here at home. Like you carry all these things right into work and, creating spaces where it's okay um, to talk about that. Or I think it's also in some roles, the idea that like your kids can come to work with you every once in a while. Like,
hmm
I mean, that's one thing that's really special about our organizations in senior
Totally.
care is, if you're going to go in on a weekend and go to a big family party, we want you to bring
hmm
your family. Daycare is closed for a day. The residents are going to love
Absolutely.
when you
hmm
Yeah.
bring them um, to the community. And I think we not only do we have this responsibility to empower women in the workforce, I think that it's like the ultimate, we have the advantage when you look at different professions. Like
hmm
this is a great profession for women.
hmm
It is a lot of women in our communities as residents, working with a lot of women. It can be flexible. It's a lot of really compassionate people. Like, I think it could be our way to just have a great workforce, is selling it to women as like, what an awesome
Well,
job.
sky's the limit too you know, and this is the thing I always love to promote, particularly like when I'm talking to my guests, is it doesn't matter what your background, passion, or interest is, there is a job for you, a
Oh,
career, a very robust career for you in senior housing, especially if you've spent any time in a community. Like
Hmm.
you could go work with Dan's company. You could go work on the operations side of things. You could go work for an insurance company. You could go work for a REIT for crying out loud, a capital partner, you know, in asset management, like, and as a nurse or having had experience in dietary, you could go work for, you know, a dietitian or, you know, US Foods. I mean,
it's
there's
amazing.
nothing you cannot do. You're an accountant. You can go support,
I
you know,
know.
there's just nothing that you can't do. I don't know any other industries that it doesn't matter what your interest or skill set is, that you could come and work and create a tremendous impact on the lives of two different, completely different groups by supporting a community, elderly and our hourly employees there. I mean,
Yeah.
there just isn't any other field I can think of, nor one that has as many opportunities for women.
And it
Or
doesn't
one that I'd want to work in. I don't know what else I would do.
Me either.
I don't
I
have a
say
ton
that
of
all the time.
marketable skills outside of senior care, so I don't know what I would
I'd have
do.
to go
And
into
also,
fashion or something. I have to be
You
somebody's
I
have
don't
like
know,
more.
personal shopper.
personal shopper. But that's the thing is like once you get into this, like I'm sure all of you hear friends talking about jobs, and I'm like, ooh, like
Hmm.
I love this profession. It is so rewarding.
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of women, not to hate on any men, women love that connection to that kind of like instinctual caregiving.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it's like you can live out that passion for caring for others. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be being a direct caregiver. I've worked as an aide, but briefly. My time was really more in culinary and administration. But that's caregiving in a different way too,
A
like
hundred
serving
percent.
people food. Or I did skilled admissions for a long time. Like that is serving someone in such a difficult
Hmm.
time of life. And so it's like we also can redefine caregiving as it's not just a clinical,
Correct.
there are so many non-clinical roles
For sure.
in our communities.
Well, I feel like even if you look at our maintenance department, we do have women, as Dan
Mhm.
knows, that are directors
Oh
of
yeah,
maintenance, but even the men that you find in the roles that are in maintenance have a very empathetic heart
100%.
and
Oh,
They
soul.
do.
yes.
They do.
They're caregivers for their family. Like if you looked and we did a profile of the men who really have had long-term careers in senior living, I think you will find their EQ is very high, very high. And they are the caregivers and the coordinators in their families.
One of the most,
And
yeah,
right?
you're one of the most amazing things that I've experienced serving in the senior space is really regardless of the position of someone in the community, there's a common denominator amongst the whole team that caregiving is really the foundation, and it's represented in so many unique ways. Just as an example, working with a facilities director or a housekeeper, maybe we're engaged in training and we're doing some things, but as a resident's coming down the hallway, maybe having a little trouble getting through the group or getting to lunch on time, right? So, hey, let's take a break, and that facilities director will walk and maybe push the wheelchair, down, get them to lunch, take a break for a second for the benefit of the resident in that moment. And it's just a small example, but is a real tangible example of how like the mindset is it's not on the facility 100% of the time, right? Like you're going to take a break from changing a light bulb to make sure that, hey, if somebody had an accident or, needs a little extra help, they're going to get that in real time. I appreciate that so much from this industry, and I wish we could see it in others.
Here's the thing too, Dan, I think that our maintenance directors, they are 100% focused on the buildings because they want it to be safe for our residents.
Yep.
And they're so concerned, like if the temperature has gone down below and there's an issue with the HVAC, or if it's too hot and they're not able to regulate it, or if the lighting isn't quite right. Like they understand the importance of not just staying within the rules and regs to like keep the state at bay. It's about how does it impact the
The home.
safety of our residents.
Yeah.
And that is their first and foremost. And then secondly is like, how do I make sure that the work environment that everybody is in is also safe? Like the perimeter of the building, and if the lights are out, I mean, they really are the biggest heart in our building is making sure that it's physically safe for everybody, right? And
Totally.
and so there just isn't a position in our buildings that doesn't come from a place of like
No.
care and nurturing. And the people who are in it long term, like you said at the beginning, Erin, you either have it or you don't. And like we can figure out the rest of those pieces, right? Like teach them that. But the EQ, I think that's what they call like your second paycheck, right? Like your ability to fill your bucket with something outside of just your pay. Because look,
Yeah.
we have very competitive wages in depending on what your skill set is and your experiences and where your knowledge and expertise are. We will be as competitive as any other industry if those are your skill sets. But
Yes.
like there is no other industry that's going to fill that like second paycheck the way this one does if that is what is in your heart. If that is
Yeah.
really where your passions lie and if that is like the camaraderie and the family that you're looking for.
I love
That's
that
Rewarding.
that's
Yeah, it's like a
prerequisite.
rewarding,
Yeah. I'm
such
sorry,
a
Aaron.
rewarding career. And oh, someone just put on there, do what you love and love what you do. That was a comment. I love that. And
yes.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
I feel some days like so fortunate. Like, is this real life? Like, is this my actual job? Because we get to live out what we do and get paid for it. And I think when we talk about elevating women, selling that of like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want you to feel drained at the end of the day. Maybe you're going to be tired, but you're not drained. You're feeling energized by the people you work with. Because like you said, I think regardless of role or gender, people in communities are caregivers. It's just
100%.
it's just kind of a theme. Um,
100%. Even
yeah,
our business office manager, they are caregivers.
everybody. So here's a funny story that will, I think, prove it. So everyone knows if you know me, I'm a crazy dog lady. I like to rescue dogs. And true.
Well, how
And
many do you have right now? Just so we have an idea. Okay.
currently two.
Oh,
That's
she's like currently
totally
two.
normal.
Currently two. And they're at Leading Age, Minnesota. There has been for a few years. I don't know if it was there this year. They have like a dog rescue that
That's
they
cool.
bring into the trade show,
I've
into
been
the
to one too where
expo.
they did like a puppy pit,
Like, yeah,
and you
there's like
could,
that
yeah,
play with them, but they're also for adoption. Every
yep.
single one gets adopted. I'm like, they know the market. Okay, find caregivers, find people with big hearts,
Smart,
puppy in need. I mean, you
smart.
get senior care people in there. None of these puppies are going to be without a house.
Oh yeah.
They're all going to have a home. And
I can't
like,
go to any of those things because I
yeah,
would take them all.
I'm like, tell my husband, back up the truck.
Hmm.
Um, I think it is. I think it is for people who are naturally caregivers a way to do it well because you don't really have time to have your career that maybe isn't rewarding for you and doing stuff in your free time that is a ton of volunteer hours and
Hmm.
being a parent and everything. You just can't do it all. But can you imagine combining what fills your heart with your paycheck?
Hmm.
Like kind of like two for one.
It really is. We should play this at all the like trade organizations, Dan. I mean, we're talking about recruiting people. I mean,
I feel like it's important. I mean, I think what I've really taken from this, and Erin said it a few minutes ago, um, we want to have care be that common denominator, that the EQ, right? It's almost like a mandatory prerequisite for you to work inside of a community. But what I'm hearing about from your cultures that you're developing and the opportunity for development is that it's okay, at any given time for your job to not be your number one priority at that,
yep.
you know what I mean, in that moment because of the balance with life. We just need the transparency from a leadership perspective to know how to support everyone, independently. And that's been really meaningful, for me, like just with this conversation today it's understanding that, on the transparent, and it's harder, I think, from a male perspective to articulate that because we're, traditionally, culturally, so much more performance driven, business first, family second. One thing that I've learned that's made me sleep better at night, and I don't know if it's just because I'm like 40 now and older, but like it's okay to say no, right? Like, and it actually feels pretty good sometimes.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't align with what's like really truly important in your life as a father, to a son and a daughter, and to my commitment to them is unconditional right now, and they're my number one priority, and they always will be. But at this chapter in my life, it's often that work will come second because of how, I'm not going to get, and you guys can appreciate this, right? You're not going to get these times back. So whether it be as a coach or an opportunity to come in and spend the day at school, or hey, just like, hey, my kid's sick today and, I'm going to go pick them up, right? And we're going to just shut it down. For those to be the reasons why we're saying no, should never be something that we regret or lose sleep over. And for me, just in maturing and over time, reprioritizing things in my life, it has led to some missed meetings. It has led to some missed, conferences and opportunities to socialize with you amazing women. But, at the same time, there's other things that, I want to communicate on the front end that are important to me, that we can't replace and are, just they're imperative to the culture that we're trying to lead within our respective organizations.
That's
For
why I
sure.
say, Dan, it's so important that men like you speak up and say those things because we have to normalize it. Because if you're saying those things, then it's like, oh, geez, if he can do that, then that's going to make
I
me feel
can.
better about being open about it.
Good.
And again, too, like I think so much we hear the like, oh, we're championing for women, we're championing for women. It isn't just women champion for women. It has to be both men and women champion for women. And
Mhm.
your kids have to hear that. Like I love that you said, you have you have a daughter and a son, and you want you want equal opportunities for both of them, right? And you want them to feel the same way. And you're setting the example for them. You're setting the example for what your daughter is going to expect in a man, and you're setting the example for how your son should be as,
Mhm.
as a father himself in the future.
No,
So I
thanks.
think like, and it's the truth. I mean, and what we do so much more impacts the things we say as a
Mhm.
leader, as a parent, as a community leader. I mean, those are the things that are, I think that, what do they say? Your actions speak louder than your words.
And people are
Yeah.
watching what we do. They hear when you say, I'm going to take the afternoon off to be with my kid at their event, or I'm doing this. And it's not like you're going to do it every day and have an attendance issue. That's not what it is. It's being open about how your life is intersecting. And the son and the daughter is a funny comment. It made me think of something like this is so long ago. So my dad and I were in a meeting, and I never led with like, well, my dad is the CEO, you know.
I could feel you. Trust me, I know that.
Usually didn't lead with that. And people didn't always know, and I wasn't there to advertise. If they asked, I would be honest. But this gentleman that we were meeting with was talking about something, and they said, oh, do you have a succession plan, like a son who would want to take over the business? And my dad was like, what? No, this is my daughter. He kind of like was like, all of a sudden announced that I was his daughter in the meeting, which was like slightly embarrassing. But then he was just like, no, absolutely. It doesn't have to be a son. Like he took that as like, how could anyone think that it would have to be a male?
Mhm.
And so I think that's the thing
In
is
this
men
day and
have to
age.
champion.
I get asked a lot if my dad started the company. And I'm like, no, he
No,
didn't.
no. And even if he did, it's like, that's the thing is you have to share the story of like, it's not like they just started and you started a family one and all of a sudden, because it's your family, you're in this role. It's like,
Hmm.
you
Yes.
have to really hustle
Work for it.
Hmm.
to show that you
100%.
are, you know,
Sometimes harder
competent.
than the average
Overthinking.
person.
Different,
Oh,
yeah, different. And I think
and
people are watching.
I think that that speaks again to like what we started the conversation with was we're in a very different time, I think, in the evolution of our industry. And we're getting enough past the original forefathers who were developers and real estate, and they were primarily men,
Mhm.
into a different evolution of the industry, and which I think I keep referring to as like the renaissance of
Mm.
senior living, because it's this enlightenment period
Oh,
where it's
changing the
so
guard.
much, it's right, it's a changing of the guard, I think, a little bit in terms of who are our leaders and our and in the industry in general. But I also think the cool thing about it is we have all these different areas coming in to support senior living. So it isn't just the real estate piece anymore, like, and it isn't just the capital anymore. Now we have like Viking
Technology and all the
technology
stuff
and
that
all these
Lauren,
supportive
yeah.
services that like, yeah, like we have all these different cool like investments of other areas that see these opportunities to support our communities coming into and we're talking about like billions of dollars of investments really coming in to support it, which really in turn, like for me and Erin, is awesome because it just gives us more resources so that the people at our building can do what they need to do most, which is focus on supporting and talking to and caring for the people living there. And I think like this goes back to why I think women in particular, I think, are very poised to help the growth of our industry is because we don't feel that it is an infringement on what we're doing. We believe in the It Takes a Village, and we
Mhm.
believe that our vendors are our true partners and that we cannot do all these things without your expertise and influence. So we can really focus on that. And the more and more involved Dan, like you and other companies get involved with what's going on in the day to day, the better and better those products are going to be to help free up time to make those jobs that can be draining while they are very, very rewarding, giving them that time back to just be with the residents and, letting the technology take care of all of the other pieces that we have to do that ensures that we have provided the care that we are telling them that we're giving them and that we are staying up to the rules and regs. And when you guys do your part, it makes it easier for us to do ours. But you have to know our industry and you have to
Yeah.
know the states
Yes.
and you have to know the rules and regs and you have to work really closely with our teams. in order for that to all orchestrate beautifully.
I mean, I think it's also on us, truthfully, to be an extension of your eyes at a leadership level,
Mm-hmm.
from a service provider perspective. I think it's on companies like Viking Pure to make sure that we're acknowledging and bringing awareness to the amazing signs and the signs of leadership that we see,
Mm-hmm.
at every respective community. One of my favorite stories, Sevy, is, several years ago, I had just sent you a text message after visiting one of your communities in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
just saying, like, you gotta, acknowledge this housekeeper, an
Mm-hmm.
85-year-old woman working hard. Like, I'll never forget walking, working with her. She's like carrying 3 trash bags, like slinging them up I'm like, this woman is a superhero.
Yep.
And, to send that message to you and to have you receive it with not only gratitude, but with intent to do just that, right? To go to acknowledge this person, to make sure that they understand that they're seen, is just in a way that maybe they weren't expecting. It just makes us just proud, to have the opportunity to kind of serve you. And I just think more industry needs to do that. That's why we are putting together this whole reimagined leadership in senior living. Specifically, you nominate a woman within your community, regardless of role, that just shows just this unparalleled commitment to the company, but also to the resident and to their fellow team members. But maybe it'll catch on. Maybe we'll get more companies that are, putting these campaigns together. I think it's
I
just
love that.
important.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Well,
getting that acknowledgement.
yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
We have a question from Kate here. And by the way, to our audience members, please, we welcome questions. And if we can't get to all of them in today's session, then I will send them to Sevy and Erin, and we'll
Yeah.
be happy to get back with you. But so from Kate, first of all, she says that her head hasn't stopped shaking or nodding this entire time. And I'm right there with you, Kate. But the question is, what do you believe are the barriers to preventing leaders in long-term care from seeing the women behind the role and creating a culture that addresses the invisible load?
Ooh.
I just not asking. I don't know. I think you have to just ask so many questions and be there. Sevy's better at this than I am. Being there, like Sevy does such a great job of being in the communities. And, I have, we're doing an event tomorrow at a community that I'll be at, but, Sevy, you are so good at that. And I think that's the barrier, is people who aren't doing that. Like, how do you see it? How do you know what the load is if you're not there?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll let Sevy speak more to that, because like you are like there meeting with the staff, and you post it on social media, and I just know that about you personally. But that's why I think you have such a great culture, is it's not you guessing from Florida. You are there.
I try to be as many places as possible.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is my advice would be, and I would say this to anybody and to pass it on, and I know Erin feels the same way, is put your hand up. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. Like, and I know tons of people reached out to you, Erin, and you always take the time to talk to them or schedule time. Like, we may
Yeah.
not have that time, like right that moment, but we'll make the time. And if there's somebody that you look up to, or it maybe even it's not in a mentorship perspective, like, like on a weekly basis, but never be afraid to put your hand up and say where you want to be next, even if you're not like ready for that. It's okay to say, I'd love to be the CEO. Tell me, Sevy, like, or Erin, like, what are some of the things that I could be doing today that are going to help me become a CEO, if that's truly what you want to do? Or if you want to be an executive director. Like, I think there's two ways to do it. You can go ahead and you can research the things on your own, and there's a lot of information you can find. ChatGPT could be your new best friend, and ChatGPT will write you a whole streamline of how you could go about doing and becoming the thing that you want to be. But then I would also always, always, always recommend that you reach out to somebody who's in the position or has been in a position that you're in. So, like, don't be afraid to ask. And I think like that could be a barrier, is that somebody may think, oh, Erin is so unattainable for me to schedule a meeting with. Untrue. You could absolutely get a meeting with Erin. Like, she will make time for you on a phone call. She will make time for you in person if you guys are going to be in the same place. So I say, don't look at the barriers. Don't wait for somebody to come and pluck you out of the like crowd.
Ask.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
And how
make it
much we
happen.
all ask each other stuff. Like, all of the women in leadership are asking each other things. We
All the
do
time.
it, other people. So like we have mentors as well and people that we're saying, hey, what do you do with this? What's your practice on this? Can you help me on this? And so I think that mentorship never really ends because we're always asking each other questions. And I think it's being humble enough to know that you don't always have the answers, and asking for help, asking for a mentor never should end, because how would any of us ever know the right way to do it on everything? I certainly don't.
Right. And
I still don't.
if it's not asking
Still
for a
working at
meeting
it.
directly, like don't be afraid to ask for an introduction, right?
Yep.
So, Cassandra just asked for a few, just a few minutes ago, and I think Sevy, you kind of inadvertently answered this question, asking for the meetings. But if like let's just say somebody doesn't know you directly, right? Or whatever, utilize services like LinkedIn to see who's connected to Sevy that you do know, right? Maybe a little bit of a lower hanging fruit that says,
I am
hey,
terrible at answering it.
I know, but
Just
like,
in
look, I mean, if
LinkedIn,
Cassandra
though.
were
LinkedIn, I'm terrible. Just in case somebody sends me
Yeah,
one.
same. Yeah,
You're
if it's a
you're better
random
at
shot on
messaging
LinkedIn, good
Katrina.
luck. But not for nothing. I mean, don't be afraid to reach out to maybe
No.
somebody within the network that could shoot a text message to Sevy or to Erin and say, hey, listen,
100%.
incoming person trying to learn. They'd love a meeting with you. Can I connect you? Right? Like I love to have the opportunity to do that. So yeah, just don't be afraid to make a place for yourself, right? Like
Yep.
make yourself important.
Yes. I just put the link to nominate a woman or more than one, please. We're not limiting nominations by any means for our Women Reimagining Senior Living Awards. We're going to be announcing winners in the next few weeks,
Yes, please
probably.
nominate someone, please.
Yes, yes. We really appreciate everyone for joining us today. Sevy and Erin, thank you so much. This conversation, oh my gosh, so much has
Awesome.
resonated. I'm like adjacent to senior living because of what I do with Viking Pure and our partners in this industry. But I feel like this resonates on so many levels for women in any industry. And I'm just so pleased to be connected with both of you and for your time today. Thank you as well for our
Thank you
audience
all
members
so
joining us.
much.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
Narelle, can I
appreciate the
just quick
conversation.
shout out to thank you for all of your hard work and
Always.
planning and
Yeah, happy
coordination
to.
here.
Yeah.
Really,
Happy
really
to.
appreciate you.
These are truly the one of the main highlights of my job with Viking Pure. I love it. So love doing these conversations and
You did a great job.
happy to do it. Thank you. All
Thank you,
right,
everybody.
everyone. I hope you
See
have an
ya.
awesome rest of your day.
Take
Thanks,
care, everyone.
guys. Thank
Bye, Sevy.
you.
Bye, Erin.
Bye.